John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. All right, I've just updated my site for the final time on May the 12th in the year of our Lord 2024. Got some great information for you tonight. Alex Newman, Dr. Steve Turley. Got some information from all kinds of people here. USA Watchdog with Ed Dowd. Greg Hunter's USA Watchdog. Let's click over here to Murtech on Rumble. I've got some special comment that I want to share with you. Here we go. This is the video that you're watching right now. All right, let's close this out and pause this. Come down here to the description box. See this show more button? You just slide down here, click this show more button, and it shows more. It expands it out. All right, before we get into this, I do want to give a shout out to some people. Kilwaya just started following my channel. Kate Hobbs gave me a comment on my Dr. Steve Turley video. Debbie BS also gave me a comment. Fender F20 gave me a comment on Dr. Steve Turley. K Rocky gave me a comment on Dr. Steve Turley. And Susan080 commented on my Dr. Steve Turley video. She gave me a comment the other day, and for some reason I kept saying Susan8080, but I'm sorry, Susan. I know your name is Susan080. Sorry I screwed up on that. And speaking of Susan080, let's go over to the comment that she did give me. Very interesting. Without carbon, plants die, animals die, people die. Humans are carbon beings. We're carbon-based creatures, folks. So, Bill Gates, Bill Gates and the other World Economic Forum and WHO, they want to get rid of carbon. Well, I guess that one way to do it would get rid of the people. Now, I'm sure they'll be around, but, what can I say? All right, getting back here, let's start off with Alex Newman. Do not let these COVID quacks and tyrants rewrite history. And let me get this back to the beginning for you. Here we go.
Hello everyone, I'm Allison Steinberg and welcome to In Focus. Have you noticed how we are now seeing the same people, governments, and institutions that smeared anyone who dared to question them about all things COVID as science deniers suddenly now doing an about-face? Well, here's a report about one of the clot shots, AstraZeneca, that is suddenly being taken off the global market despite years of repeated lies to the world about its side effects.
We can say that yes, blood clots are happening after vaccination, but they're almost certainly not caused by the vaccinations.
There's nothing to suggest a causal link between clots and the vaccine, so there seems no reason to be worried about either vaccine being used in the UK rollout.
Okay. AstraZeneca admits COVID vaccine can cause rare side effects.
So now those governments removing it care about the killing of their citizens? My baloney meter is chirping. This, of course, is on the heels of others in our own government, media, and medical community who are suddenly taking entirely new stances on old positions. The obvious questions are, what gives and why now? Joining us to break it all down, CEO of Liberty Sentinel Media and author of the book, Indoctrinating Our Children to Death, Alex Newman. Alex, great to see you. Thanks for being with us.
It's great to be here. Thank you, Allison.
Well, Alex, I'm not sure who opened the COVID honesty floodgates and why now, but let's start with the AstraZeneca shot. What do you make of it now being removed from global markets?
I'm not surprised if YouTube and the fascists over at Google had not been censoring everybody, along with Facebook and the former owners of Twitter. People would have known this years ago.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you knew, I knew, a lot of people knew, a lot of doctors knew, and were trying to sound the alarm, and they were demonized, censored, silenced, pulled off the internet, threatened with losing their medical license. So this is what happens when totalitarians are given control over anything. They suppress the truth, and then the truth ends up coming back to haunt us, because it's not any less the truth just because they're silencing everybody who speaks it. But it actually reminds me, Allison, of a 2017 war game exercise that the usual clown car did. It was called SPARS. And they actually talked about in this hypothetical war game situation that they were going to force everybody to take these injections. It was at some point going to become way too obvious how much damage had been done to people, and then they were going to have to start a big compensation program. So this may have already been war gamed. We'll see what develops over the next few weeks. But, I mean, they couldn't conceal this forever. It was just too obvious. Everybody knows somebody who was hurt or killed by these injections. They can't keep covering it up.
Yeah, they certainly can't. I think the truth is becoming very apparent, but it's just interesting timing. I wonder why now. But another story shift has come from the infamous Dr. Bad Teeth Birx, who discussed the AstraZeneca poll and other shots with Chris Cuomo. She's now claiming that the shots did what they were specifically tested and designed to do, which was apparently to prevent severe disease, hospitalizations, and deaths. But we were specifically told that these shots were tested and created to stop you from getting and giving COVID, which is why they, had to lock us up in our homes until they were available, right?
That's exactly right. And it actually reminds me of Baghdad Bob, right? You've got the U.S. military invading in the background, and Baghdad Bob is on TV saying, everything is great, the Iraqi army is going to crush these people. We all see the house of cards imploding. It's falling down all around them. And they're just trying to change history now. Oh, that's what we said all along. Well, the evidence is out there. We've all seen it. And they can lie, and they can continue to lie. It's going to catch up with them, and hopefully the next step will be accountability, but that's going to take massive, massive public pressure.
Yeah, I don't know that we will ever see true accountability, but it would be wonderful if that did happen. I will certainly be praying for that. Now, Birx was on with Chris Cuomo, who in some ways sort of launched this new wave of conversations and conversions, really, in the COVID narratives. He's claiming he's now vaccine injured and has long COVID. In addition, he's also admitting he's taking what his former network claimed was horse dewormer. But while others are touting him as someone admitting the anti-vaxxers were right all along, I don't really think he is, because in the case of ivermectin, he's claiming that doctors either didn't know it was effective or were silent about it, and that's a lie, isn't it?
Okay, first I want to, before he gets into this long COVID, I feel, is bullshit. What the hell? Long COVID? Wonder if it has any correlation with the actual vaccine, that people are having long COVID. Number one, I don't even know what the hell long COVID is. I mean, you've had the flu for 3 years? Is that it? I don't know. If you know, folks, enlighten me in the comments below.
That's an absolute lie. So many doctors are speaking out about it. You and I both talked to huge numbers of doctors who were trying to sound the alarm about this. My YouTube channel got deleted multiple times because of this, because we were interviewing doctors who were talking about the benefits of ivermectin, the dangers of these toxic injections, the lies surrounding the pandemic narrative. So the reality is, a lot of people knew this. And in fact, even with all their censorship, the truth was still getting out there. But it was clowns like CNN, like Fox News, like NBC and ABC and the rest of the fake media that deliberately suppressed this information so that the remaining people who still watch the mainstream media, which that number is getting smaller every day, thankfully, were completely in the dark about it.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And as I mentioned on my show yesterday, it's absurd what we had to endure when we were shut down and had our accounts, shut off and were demonetized because we were speaking the truth all along. I said, what do we get now that we were right? I want reparations for my losses during this time. It's just criminal. And also the doctors, too, who touted ivermectin lost their licenses. Many couldn't even find a pharmacy to fill a prescription. So this isn't isn't a deathbed confession, but as you said, Alex, an attempt to rewrite history conveniently right before an election. I think the worst of those doing alleged deathbed confessions, though, is alleged Dr. Wen, who was, as we remember, CNN's favorite COVID crackdown cheerleader, and once claimed that the unjabbed should be treated like people who drive drunk. I have a new clip from her. I'll play that and then we'll come right back to discuss.
Well, I think that public trust has been eroded, yes, by people who are perpetuating misinformation and disinformation. But I think that the people in the scientific community who did not do a very good job of separating fact from opinion also help to erode that trust.
Clear to them that the vaccine is the ticket back to pre-pandemic life. And the window to do that is really narrow. We need to start looking at the choice to remain unvaccinated the same as we look at driving while intoxicated. That you have the option to not get vaccinated if you want, but then you can't go out in public.
I didn't get vaccinated and I didn't have any problem going out in public. But then again, I live in Indiana, not in New York or California, or Michigan.
Honor code was never going to work, that when vaccinated and unvaccinated people are mixing, unless there is proof of vaccination, everybody should still be wearing masks. And so I actually support what the CDC is now doing.
Gosh, her voice is just like worse than nails on a chalkboard to me. But is she seriously kidding? I just can't get over the fact that she's just now calling out the government for causing mistrust by spewing misinformation. Really, Alex? What are your thoughts?
Mrs. Joseph Goebbels here, truly amazing with this propaganda. But, I guess if I was her, if I was on record, if I had been recorded saying over and over again things that Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Chairman Mao would have probably approved of, I'd want to rewrite history too. I'd want to say, oh, yeah, the public health community, the scientific community. No, you need to take personal responsibility for the lies, for the advocacy of tyranny. And we need to remind everybody here, Allison, these weren't just harmless lies. These were lies that resulted in probably many millions of deaths. And I do think, again, we need to reiterate, there needs to be accountability. And I believe for some of these people, there needs to be criminal accountability.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely spot on. It's got to happen. Again, I don't know that it ever will, but it's criminal what these tyrants have been able to get away with. While we're talking about the violation of trust, though, I have a clip of Governor Granny Killer Cuomo talking about government's ability to enforce those COVID crackdowns. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll come back to you.
You must wear a mask. And people wore masks in New York. But if they said, I'm not wearing a mask, there was nothing I could do about it. You must close your private business. I won't. Well, there was nothing I could really do about it.
So they never had the authority to enforce the non-laws. Interesting, because is that why then they sent out the NYPD to arrest people? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You just have to laugh at it. It's so absurd, isn't it?
It is. They're trying to rewrite the history here. Everybody with a brain remembers what these criminals did. They used law enforcement. They used police. They forced business owners to become enforcement agents for this madness. And it wasn't just in New York. New York, of course, was one of the worst. And again, there needs to be criminal accountability. I want to remind everybody, we have a federal statute on the books. We've had it for a long time. Depriving somebody of their constitutionally protected rights under color of law is a felony. Punishable by life in prison, punishable by death if somebody dies as a result. I think we need real prosecutors to start dusting off those old statutes and start putting them to work. These people killed people by depriving Americans of their constitutionally protected rights. That is a serious criminal offense. And no matter what nonsense they say on TV about it today, we all remember what happened. The evidence is overwhelming. They need to be held responsible.
Yes, they do need to be held responsible, and we need to never forget what they did. That's why it's so important that we keep going over the actual history, the real history, so that they can't rewrite it, and so that we remember what we all had to endure, because they're actively trying to push this all upon us again. Case in point, I guess they're trying to regain credibility in advance of their next pandemic, which the FDA is claiming is here with the bird flu. They're saying this can kill 1 in 4 Americans. Alex, what do you think? Should we actually take this seriously, or is this just another hoax?
whenever the government's talking, you should assume that the opposite is closer to the truth, and that same thing applies here. The former head of the CDC warned us years ago that he thought the bird flu was going to be the next big pandemic, that it was going to be super deadly, and conveniently, just like for every other real and manufactured crisis, the solution for these totalitarians is always more tyranny, more money for them, less money for you, more power for them, less freedom for you. So if we didn't learn over the last 4 years what a dishonest, disgusting group of institutions and totalitarians we're dealing with here, maybe we deserve what's coming to us. So the answer is no, we must never trust these people again, not until everybody who lied to us, everybody who killed people is rotting in a prison cell. Then maybe we can start taking public health seriously once again.
Well said, Alex. I nominate you for president. You think you're up for the task?
Would love it. I appreciate it. You could be Vice President, Secretary of State, and DOJ head. That'd be awesome.
You're much too kind. Alex Newman, we are all out of time for today. Thank you so much for joining us to weigh in. I always appreciate you.
Thank you, Allison.
All right. There you have it, folks. An interesting thing that he mentioned there about depriving someone of their constitutional rights is a felony. Now, I've heard that way back in the 1800s, late 1700s, 1800s, when they were settling territories across the United States, Kansas, Oklahoma, Colorado, California, and what have you, that there were no laws. I mean, the laws for murder are state to state. And execution, or whatever the penalty might be for murder, is different from state to state. But I think in territory, like in Oklahoma or even Texas when it was a territory, or the areas that are now states that were territories, when someone murdered someone else, that's what they were convicted of. Depriving someone of their constitutional rights to live. So therefore, you had to forfeit your life by hanging. Now, I'm not sure if that's true. I haven't really taken the time to look that up. I mean, I heard this years ago, maybe 25 years ago, when I heard this, and I thought, it seems plausible. But at any rate, moving on here, let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Liberty Sentinel. This is the video I shared with you. That's Alex Newman's channel. I've given him a thumbs up. Following his channel, I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's get back here to the description box and start next, or continue next with Dr. Steve Turley. Trump's court cases will win him 2024. Let's take a listen here. And let me get it back here to the beginning for you. Here we go.
Talk here of just how much President Trump has won. That Newsweek headline, oh, it's a disaster. What's happening to Trump and the Stormy Daniels? It's a disaster. Oh, really? Is it a disaster, Newsweek? Let's take stock of just how much President Trump has won in all this. Larry Schweikert very helpfully summarizes it all for here. I really owe it to him for laying this out for us. Take a look at this. Trump got the Supreme Court to strike down that pathetic Colorado Supreme Court decision that knocked him off the ballot. They struck it down 9-0. Oh, such a disaster for Trump. Oh, really? Right. Supreme Court 9-0 decision. Then they won a permanent delay in the Jack Smith classified documents case. Permanent delay. They won the New York civil bond deposit appeal. That's the one that overturned Letitia James and that weird freeze miser Judge Engoron's attempt at fining Trump $500 million freaking dollars. Letitia James did everything she possibly could to make that fine stick. Trump was able to overturn it and pay cash as he appeals. He won the immunity appeal at the Supreme Court. He was able to argue it, and then most argue that he will most likely win. He will win when all's said and done the majority of what he needs in the immunity decision. So that, I think, is just based on what. Remember, when you have arguments in front of the Supreme Court, they've already made their decision. Okay, it's a formality. So that's why when you kind of listen to how they're questioning, either the defense or the prosecutor, in the sense, the state's case, in this case Trump's case, you get a sense of where they've already decided, right? Trump is most likely going to win the vast majority of the appeal details. You cannot just sue a president for any reason you want. There's got to be some objective standard. Otherwise, every president's going to be held accountable to lawfare as Trump has. And then in the process, they're destroying Stormy Daniels. He calls her Porty Daniels in here. It's very funny. They're destroying Stormy Daniels on the stand and just revealing the whole Alvin Bragg case to be an absolute circus. And they're putting Fannie Willis, Fat Fannie, in massive legal trouble in the process, basically destroying the Fulton County case. That's what the left-wing freaks at MSNBC are freaking out over. That list of win after win after win after win after win in all of this lawfare. It'd be nice if all he had to do was just campaign. That'd be really great. Fortunately, it's all been working in our favor this whole time. Every time he gets indicted, every time there's some new lawfare nonsense, all of a sudden his poll numbers go up. I wonder why. Hey, gang, with everything going on right now, it's hard to say what...
Okay, he's going into a commercial here, talking about gold.
He's been winning in the New York appellate courts. He's been winning in Fulton County, and he's been successfully winning in this Alvin Bragg case by he's been holding ad hoc Trump rallies in downtown Manhattan every week. Talk about a parallel reality. Now, why is this all important? What is, when all's said and done, before we go to your Q&A, remember, if you want to ask me your questions, just click on the link below, join any level of support on our app, and you can ask me any question you want. You're automatically inducted into our Insiders Club. We're going to have access to our virtual platform. That's where you can ask me your questions. Remember that our super chats have been disabled like forever because of YouTube claiming that our content is harmful. But regardless, what is the real takeaway in all of this? Well, again, I have Larry Schweikert's very astute observation to thank for this. The left decided back in 2022, when we saw them in the summer of 2022, when we saw the Mar-a-Lago raid. Again, in totally unprecedented crossing of the Rubicon, raiding a former president's house. Never been done before in the history of our republic. The left decided back then, in 2022, that they would take Trump out through lawfare. They admitted, and we talked about this at the time of the Mar-a-Lago raid. That was an open admission. They all knew that Biden did not legitimately win 2020. They knew it. The Wisconsin Supreme Court has since thrown out 200,000 ballots for the 2020 election as illegal, violating the Wisconsin state constitution, which militates against ballot harvesting. Biden, remember, only won by 20,000 votes. So 200,000 votes were cast. We've seen the same thing with the Georgia State Election Oversight Commission. We had a video on that just a couple of days back, how they uncovered a radical discrepancy between the amount of ballots that were counted originally on election, or shall I say at 3 a.m. on election night. And they compared that to the subsequent recount and found a dramatic discrepancy in the amount of ballots that were counted. And the Secretary of State's office in Georgia, it cannot account as to why that is. They know, the Democrats know Biden did not win legitimately. He underperformed in every single state throughout the country, except for the very 5 swing states he needed to win. That's where he didn't just overperform, he superperformed. They know he stole 2020. They know it. They stole it. The media knows it. They're part of it. The media likes to act like they're this objective observers in all this. And what false claim. No, the media was part of it. We know the media was actively involved in stealing the 2020 election. The problem is they don't think they can pull it off again in 2024. especially in light of what happened with the Arizona and Georgia and Wisconsin cleaning up their voter rolls, tightening up their mail-in voting laws, making 2020 impossible to pull off again. And without Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin, they don't win. So they knew they couldn't pull off 2020 again, so they went all in with the lawfare. They certainly didn't want to take their chance on a free and fair election because they know Trump would most likely crush Biden again. And so they tried to take Trump out through the weaponization of the courts. And then they figured that Biden, because their advisors are a lot more astute and keen than Republican advisors, they figured Biden would pretty easily beat relatively unknowns like Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis. And they were right, by the way. Biden would have beaten either one of them handily. There was no way either Hillary Haley or disaster DeSantis, not as a governor, as a presidential candidate. He was a disaster. There was no way they were going to win states like Pennsylvania or Wisconsin or Michigan. Even Iowa and Ohio would have been toss-ups with either one of them. So this is why the Democrats did not rid themselves of Biden when they had the chance to do so. They thought it was easier to rid themselves of Trump through lawfare than it was ridding themselves of Biden and then dealing with the cultural Marxist warfare they would have to deal with, trying to get rid of Kamala, maybe replacing her with Gavin Newsom, getting rid of a woman of color and replacing her with a white male. What? Are you kidding me? And they did not want to deal with the hornet's nest that would have erupted. They figured Biden could beat the alternatives to Trump. And then after the election, with four more guaranteed years, they could force Biden out and then figure out what to do. Maybe replace him with Harris, maybe get another replacement. Who knows? In other words, in Vegas terms, they gambled it all on lawfare. They gambled it all on Trump getting taken out through the lawfare. That'll bring Biden back in because there's no way Hillary Haley or disaster DeSantis could compete. And then they'll figure out how to get rid of Biden. They could have gotten rid of him back in 2022, but they went all in on the lawfare. And they lost. Even MSNBC is admitting that. Even MSNBC, the single most loyal Democrat arm of the legacy media, is admitting they have there is no legal cavalry coming to Biden's rescue. So now they have to face the Godzilla of politics in November. And make no mistake, that is every Democrat's worst nightmare.
All right, folks. Great information. I'll tell you what, I really like the way he analyzes things and explains things. No wonder he has
admitting that.
No wonder he has 1.6 million followers on YouTube and 162,000 followers here on Rumble. This is Dr. Steve Turley's channel. This is the video I just shared with you. I am following his channel and I've given him a thumbs up. And folks, this is just a couple of videos here that I'm sharing from Murtech.com. Okay, Dr. Steve Turley right here. This is the video I just shared with you, and the same thing with Alex Newman. I'm going to share some information here with you from USA Watchdog, and if you click on the link, the name, that's a link to their channel. Right here, that link takes you directly to the channel. So I am sharing this information here at Murtech.com directly from the producer's channel. When you click on the this video or the names, it's going to take you to their channels or their videos. And if you click on this, Alex Newman will get the credit for the view, for the comments, for the thumbs up, whatever, because I'm sharing these videos directly from the producers. All right, coming down here, I saw an interesting post today, and I wanted to share that with you. Greg Hunter's video is about. Here, let me. What the heck? Okay.
Here's some sombering numbers for y'all. Since Biden took office, the price of groceries has increased 21.2%. The price of eating out has increased 21%. The cost of baby food has gone up 29.6%, and the cost of pet food has gone up 22.7%. The cost of rent has increased 20%, and the cost of electricity has gone up 28.4%. Natural gas prices have gone up 30%, and apparel, clothing, has gone up 12%. Airfare travel has gone up 31.4%, and public transportation has gone up 20.8%. Welcome to Build Back Better.
All right, Build Back Better. But according to the Biden administration, there is no inflation. Everything's great. People has money in their pockets, jobs. There's jobs out there, low unemployment. Okay, I guess I'll believe what they say. Not. All right. Greg Hunter's USA Watchdog, huge financial stock shock inevitable and hitting now. Ed Dowd. That was some interesting information, but I wanted to skip back past that. And folks, if you want to hear about the financial information, right here, this right here, here's the video you're watching. You scroll down here to the description box and click on this link, and it'll take you directly to this video. But I'm going to move it up a little bit and let him talk about how all this information about these vaccine injuries and things have been coming out in the news. So let's start there.
Against me.
I want to bring up this because you were talking about what happened during Enron, and this is the same as your book that you document all these people that they have no idea what's killing all of them. It's, millions of people that are sick or injured from these CV-19 shots. And now we're getting this, and this just broke this week. Somebody said it to me. Said, Greg, will you ask Ed Dowd about this? And I just thought, when I saw it, I thought, wow, this is like Enron. When Enron was going down, you were getting out, and they were the darling of the industry. You must have taken some crap for that. You were right. But here we have this on Dan Abrams, and Abrams, he starts with this new major study. This is at Johns Hopkins, doesn't even have major risks as previous belief, which I think is bizarre. And then we have, I just grabbed some screenshots. We got this doctor here. It's Dr. Oh, wait a minute. It's Dr. Amish Adajala, MD, Adajala. And he's saying that, now we've looked at this. And, he's a senior scholar at Johns Hopkins, and he says, we look for any signal for cardiac death and all these vaxxed in this big campaign. We don't see a signal, he says. That's a quote from him. And in a study this big, it really is reassuring. This should debunk what the anti-vax movement has been saying and trying to promulgate. He says, actually, in this whole deal, that they're trying to debunk the anti-vax movement. He actually says that. I don't understand how he can say that. I mean, are you an anti-vaxxer, Ed? I'm going to get full screen so people get a good look at this doctor. A new study shows the COVID vaccine isn't as bad as previously believed. And then he says that, there are some people, there's going to be a small segment of people who are armed by a vaccine. And I'm coming to you saying, is this guy a legit at Johns Hopkins? He's an MD. He's a research fellow. He's an adjunct professor. He's supposed to be a senior scholar at Johns Hopkins. What's going on here?
Well, I think Johns Hopkins was involved in an event 201 that preceded COVID in October of 2019. People like to call us anti-vaxxers grifters. There's no money in what we're doing for free. I would look at his sources of funding. Who is he getting paid by? Who funds his research? I think you'll find interesting funders of his research, primarily pharmaceutical companies and government entities that also support pharmaceutical companies. So I haven't seen the study. I don't care what the study says. All I know is since the COVID vaccines were introduced, excess deaths amongst younger age folks took off in 21 and 22. We see it in all Western countries. Disabilities started rising in February of 2021. We're at about 4 million excess disabilities above the 5-year running average, which is around 29 to 30 million. We're at 34 million disabled Americans, half of which are employed. We've seen absence rates take off after the vaccine introduction, lost productivity. We have cancer research we've done at that's on our homepage at financetechnologies.com. In ages 15 to 44, we saw an increase in cancer across the board. Cancers had been coming down and they inflected up in 21 and 22. We see the same thing in the US. We just put out a study there. We see disabilities in the UK, which go into causes a little more detailed than the US. We see disabilities on the rise across the board starting around 2021.
And that's when they started the vax, around 2021. You're talking about this. This all keys off when they rolled this vax out. You started seeing deaths and disabilities. Period. The end. And big ones.
Well, let's just use the young people in the U.S. In 2020, it was predominantly old people that died, and about 124,000 people between the ages of 15 to 64 died in 2020 excessively. I testified to this at Senator Ron Johnson's event in February. Then we went up to around 235,000, 16 through 64 in 2021. So we flipped the mix. About 500,000 excess deaths in 2020, mostly old. Then in 2021, we had 500,000 excess deaths, but the mix shift was all young people. It's a joke.
This Amesh Adalja, MD, he says, and I'm going to go full screen here, and he's saying, well, there's going to be a small segment of people who are hurt by any vaccine. Is this a small segment? Is he telling the truth here, or do you see a small segment of people injured by the CV19 bioweapon vax?
Well, let's talk about his comments in lieu of some other comments that have come out recently. There seems to be an effort to acknowledge some injury, but to normalize it as small. So A, it's not small. B, I find it curious that he's saying these things at the same time that Deborah Birx is admitting to vaccine injury, but small as well. And Chris Cuomo is now going on news shows saying that he was wrong about ivermectin and that he's vaccine injured. So there seems to be a concerted effort to rewrite the narrative that, yes, there are some injuries, but they're small and not significant. Well, the truth be told, something's happened to the health of the U.S. since the rollout of the vaccine, and it's dire. It's, since 2021, the vaccines rollout, we have 1.1 million excessive Americans dying, 4 million disabled. We estimate another 28.6 million injured that are missing work from time to time due to chronic illness. So it's about 33 million Americans have been injured, disabled, or died from this vaccine. In our estimate.
So you think they're trying to rewrite history? This Amesh Adalja talks about anti-vaxxers. They won't listen to science. I'd like to tell Dr. Adalja that I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm against, diabolical and evil domicide with a bioweapon vax that was planned for what now one doctor is saying is a big hoax. I'm against doctors in the medical community against doctors being paid off by Health and Human Services and Pfizer to push a experimental shot. But I digress. This is going to get worse, or are we seeing the peak?
So far we've seen the peak, and excess mortality is way down from the peak in 21 and early 22. It's running around a consistent 5 to 10%. Now, what I'm worried about is the cancers seem to be accelerating, so that could be something we need to watch. We're also watching disabilities. So if the medium-term effects start to show up, we should see it in disabilities because booster uptake is way down. So we're watching disabilities, and they took off starting in 2021, hit a high in September of 22 of about 3 million Americans. Then it plateaued at that level until June of 2023, and then it took off and went up another million, and it's now plateauing at that level. And I'm here to report the last 4 months, after a little bit of a back test, it's now near all-time highs again. So I'm monitoring U.S. disabilities from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If we see another surge forward, that could be an indication of more deaths to come, because morbidity leads mortality, meaning you get disabled and injured before you die. So if we see disabilities spike up, then it's not good news. So we're monitoring that right now. I'd like to say the worst is behind us. Cancer seemed to be a problem, but let's be hopeful that the human body is a miracle as God created, and it's fighting this thing as best it can.
What's this going to do? I had Kath Ellison Fitz on a while ago, and she brought this up. I talked about you, Susan. I don't want to be morbid, but when you have this many people sick and die, this is going to be a deflationary event. This could be a huge deflationary event. Are you in that camp that this could get so bad in the future that it's going to be not inflationary, but deflationary, as people don't need that car and they don't need that house and they don't need to buy groceries, or they don't need their Social Security? That gets fixed. Do you think this could turn into a deflationary event with these CV-19 bioweapon shots? That, according to, and just so you know, on December 4th, Dr. Mike Yeadon testified in front of the UK Parliament, and he said that, and did it under oath, and said that the shots had intentionally harmful ingredients. The ingredients were intentionally harmful in the CV-19 vaccines. And so he worked for Pfizer for 20 years, bringing new drugs to market. But back to the question, are you seeing a big deflationary event that could happen because of these CV-19 shots?
Well, we're predicting a deflationary event just based on monetary policy, which is hitting right now in May. So the deflationary forces from the interest rate hikes should be hitting that. Now, if you throw in the sick and the injured, that certainly doesn't help. There's mitigating offsets to that. If you're wondering why the borders are wide open and about 10 to 12 million illegal immigrants have entered under the Biden administration, that's an offset. And they're giving money directly to these people, which is increasing the velocity of money, which can be inflationary. So we have these twin forces, deflationary events with inflationary immigration. So they may be trying to thread the needle here, but it certainly looks like there's a plan, or if not a plan, an unintentional plan.
So you're saying that these $5,000 gift cards and all this, the free hotel rooms and healthcare and all this stuff to the illegal aliens, you're saying that they want this. This is how they're keeping the economy floating. Or am I wrong? Explain that.
Two ways: government jobs and giving money directly to these immigrants, who then go to Costco, Target, and immediately spend the money. That is very powerful. It's the velocity of money bottomed in 2020, and it's now been on the rise under the Biden administration. The velocity of money peaked in 2000, and it's been coming down ever since. And we think it bottomed in 2020. So there's a lot of deflationary forces with demographics going the wrong way, but inflationary forces with illegal immigration. So this is why it's hard to predict sometimes whether we're going to have deflation or inflation. We're looking at inflation right now. We think it's going to be modest, low inflation going forward for the next year or two until we get a policy response because of the downturn in the economy. Then we think it's going to be more like moderate inflation, but we're definitely in a new inflationary regime. The system is trying to inflate long term, so we should see inflation on the rise despite these deflationary forces. But it's going to be a roller coaster. We're going to have inflation, deflation, policy responses, chaos, war, spending. It's the end of a system. So this creates global geopolitical tensions just by themselves.
When you say,
and we haven't even touched upon what's going on at the Bank of Japan. That's a problem we need to talk about.
Well, let's talk about it. What's going on with the Bank of Japan? They say they're in a, quote, doom loop. What does that mean? Bank of Japan in a doom loop. What does that mean?
Yeah. So the Bank of Japan is one of the central banks that's been globally coordinating since the great financial crisis. They've been a great source and ally to the Fed. They print money like no one's business. They buy financial assets directly into their central bank balance sheet. Since the Federal Reserve undertook this interest rate hike, and Japan has had longer zero interest rate policies than us, this is causing a currency problem in Japan. And they need to raise interest rates, but their economy can't handle it, so they're loath to do it. It would implode their economy if they raise interest rates. So the release valve is the currency. So that's why the yen recently got to 160 yen per US dollar last week. And that was the first time we'd seen that since 1990, that level. The Bank of Japan came in and just spent $55 billion to intervene, as we thought they would. But that doesn't seem to be having any impact. Now we're seeing the yen depreciate again. So part of the global debt problem is at some point it's all good and well until you get a currency crisis in one of the major central banks. Looks like Bank of Japan could be the spark that lights the fire. There's going to be lots of it's going to be a process. It's going to take time. There'll be a lot of policy responses. The Fed will open up swap lines to Japan to help them out. But if Japan can't continue to do what it's doing, what's called the yen carry trade will blow up, and there's a lot of leveraged assets that have been acquired over the last decade or so in that trade, and they'll be forced to sell as the doom loop initiates. So this has always been how the global debt crisis would resolve itself. Currency would be the release valve, and then you have currency wars, trade wars, you have all sorts of problems.
Man. I always ask this to people like you. What's the common person should they do? Should they stock up on food? I mean, should they buy a new car? Should they get rid of their debt? What should the common person do? What would you tell people to do? Say, listen, I'm just a guy. I make 50 grand a year. And, how do I shield myself and cushion the fall?
Well, if you don't have a lot of assets, it's kind of a blessing, actually. I mean, what you need to do is build up your social network and start to get people of like-minded perceptions that believe, as we believe, in your camp. And when things get really bad, you can rely on each other. If you want to put some money away, put it in a government U.S. money market account and just wait out the storm. Because the U.S. Treasury is going to be one of the last things to fall. We have nuclear weapons that back it. So even though the government isn't our friend at the moment, they're going to make sure that those bonds are going to be money good for as long as they can. So that's again, back to my basic advice. Some of your wealth should be in short-term treasury bills or money market funds, government money market funds.
I don't know why we're getting these thumbs up and thumbs down.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that here and click on the Rumble link. As you can see, this video does come from Greg Hunter's USA Watchdog. This is the video I shared with you. I'm following his channel, giving him a thumbs up. Now, folks, I'm not a rich guy. But the things that I do is I've bought a little bit of silver and a little bit of gold. I've done that actually years ago when it wasn't quite so pricey. But some things that you can do is stock up on groceries. I mean, he's talking about there's going to be more inflation. Well, you just heard that little snippet there about 20% and 30% inflation. Our electric company here in Indianapolis just got a rate increase approved, and they're going to start on that this next billing cycle. Can't wait to see what that's going to be like. But you could stock up on groceries. I mean, when you go into the grocery store and buy some canned vegetables, now I know canned vegetables are probably not the best for you. If you had some farmland, or if you have some land and can plant some vegetables, I got some onions out in the backyard and some tomato plants, but I can't plant green beans and corn and peas. I don't have enough land or enough time to tend to it. But when you do go to the grocery store, instead of buying a couple of cans of green beans or corn or peas by 4. If you turn that can of vegetables over and look at it, it's got an expiration date of over a year out. So you can stock up over a period of time and rotate the cans out so that you can have a supply of a month or 2 months worth of food if something happens with the supply chain. And I'll tell you what, I don't put anything past these Democrats, because they're not interested in you or me or our families or anyone we know. They're interested in maintaining power. You've seen how many multi-millions of dollars, if it hasn't hit hundreds of millions of dollars, of course it's not their money, so they don't care, they spent on trying to get Trump. You see how many billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, that our government sends overseas and ignores our southern border. We talked about this last night, how illegal aliens can vote in a presidential election if they feel that they were a citizen at the time of voting. If they reasonably believe that they were a citizen. Okay, what's your definition of reasonably believe? Look at my video from last night, because we went into that, and I have the fact. I'm here. We'll just go into that. At any rate, I've given him a thumbs up. Great information. Hope you do the same thing. Okay, I'm going to come over here to Rumble. I'm going to come over here to my content. And, okay, this is what we're watching today. Yesterday, what we watched. Let me go ahead. I did pause that. And come down here into the description box. Just go to my video from yesterday. Or was it the day before? It might have been the day before. Sorry about that. I know I talked about it. There we go. US code 18. It was the day before yesterday. Produce a video every day, so sometimes my days run together. Okay, in the description box here, sorry about that, because this is kind of a spur of the moment thing. Right here, US Code 18, US Code, Section 611, voting by aliens. Right here at the top it says, oh, aliens can't vote in presidential elections or Congress. But then down here, this last sentence, subsection A does not apply if an alien, right here, the alien reasonably believed at the time of voting, in violation of such subsequent, that he or she was a citizen of the United States. If the alien reasonably believes that they're a citizen of the United States, all it would take is someone to give them the registration form. Say, fill this out. This will make you a citizen of the United States, and you can vote in the election. This was put in place in 1956. Eisenhower was the president, but the Congress, Senate, and House of Representatives was controlled by Democrats. So they stuck this little sentence in here because they've been rigging our elections forever. And this is another way to do it. Make an illegal alien, hell, you're giving them Visa cards and debit cards and food cards, free health care, free housing, free transportation to anywhere in the United States, free schooling. Here, fill out these papers and you can vote too. Well, hell, they don't know any different. They would reasonably believe that they're a citizen. If someone gave them the documents and told them to fill them out, and they would be a citizen. So here we go. I'm going to finish up with some little lightheartedness here. Awaken with JP. This is how you deal with protesters. Laugh out loud. Alrighty.
And it's
let me get this back to the beginning for
Dressed
you.
as doves to symbolize peace for the Palestinian people.
We're being encouraged to really embody birds.
And it'll probably make a difference. Welcome back to the JP Rex channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. And sometimes you gotta laugh about things, don't you? You know, is that just me? Is that because I'm biased? I think especially laughing about what's relevant, it kind of checks a couple boxes for me. So today I want to have a laugh with you. Take a look at a couple videos from on Instagram, The Real Big Lie. Several months ago, we showed a few of his videos interviewing people on the streets, which is super hilarious. At the time, his Instagram was like 4,000 people, and now it's well over 100,000. So it's really cool to see him grow. He's a comedian, but doing comedy in unique ways on relevant things. So with that said, we saw the opening clip of people really changing the world dressing as birds for Palestine. Let's pick up where we left off there.
Dressed as doves to symbolize peace for the Palestinian people.
We're being encouraged to really embody birds.
Can I help you?
Yeah, here.
Oh, this is like a tag team dove situation. What's your take on open relationships?
I don't have one.
Would you be in one?
No.
Do you think it's ethical to go through your partner's phone?
This is wild. This is super not about Palestine.
But like, just hypothetically?
Just hypothetically and realistically, not interested in talking about things that are not Palestinian liberation right now. Cool.
I just see like TikToks. After being a bird, do you think it's ethical for like people to like own birds as like pets and stuff?
I don't know if it's a question of ethics, really.
Do you feel comfortable owning one?
I personally don't. I'm a big bird watcher, and I love observing birds in the wild.
Next up, he meets a very interesting guy at a Palestinian protest. Unique situation. Check it out.
What's the most important thing I should look for in a wife?
I am married. I have 4 wives.
How do you balance 4 wives?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's good?
It's possible, yeah.
All the wives are friends?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Very happy. Very happy. If husband nice, really, and treat all of them equal, it's no problem.
I respect that. He seems like he's got a situation going on that he enjoys, and if all 5 of them are happy, then blessings. Next clip, he's back at another protest, and one of the brilliant things that just it's fun to watch because he catches people off guard. You know, they're there, passion on whatever the protest topic is, but he just asks them these pattern interrupt absurd questions. Watching how the person handles it is very amusing. Let's check this one out.
We are God's chosen nation, and we are peace, and we are humanitarian.
Just one follow. And you were talking about love. How do you think couples can maintain like a really solid love life?
Couples, you're gonna have to ask someone that's married. Have a great night.
Okay, thank you so much.
Here to stand for peace and also the return of our hostages and our family members.
And does size matter?
In terms of?
Like in like a intimate situation?
I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that question.
I'm a Jewish person, and my nation is in mourning.
And what's your sign?
My sign is an Israeli flag.
Like star sign?
Oh, Aries, obviously.
Oh, me too. Are you dating?
No.
Do you factor in astrology in your dating life?
No, but I know I do get along with Aries, so.
Oh, okay.
So this could be a thing.
This could be a total
thing. Are you
thing.
Jewish?
I mean, I'll do anything for love.
Okay.
What's your number?
I'm so sorry. I only date Jews. I'm so sorry.
She was rather pleasant. She took it well. Next clip.
What's the best slice of pizza in New York City?
I don't like pizza in New York City. I like pizza in Rome.
Well, we are just looking to bring the hostages home, so it's nice to be there with a lot of people who feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. He's a 10, but he's 4 inches. Just like a relationship hypothetical.
This is not part of it.
And are you doing anything for your gut health?
I'm actually a gut health specialist, so you're asking the right person.
No way. What are 3 things that the average layperson can do?
You can drink a lot of water, filtered water with electrolytes, drink bone broth, excellent for you. Really good, especially as the season's getting cold. You can incorporate more leafy greens, arugula, spinach. Amazing.
One of the things I don't understand about him is how he can keep a straight face when he's just asking absurd questions. I admire that. He might be a sociopath. That could be how he does it. And if so, it works for him. Now we'll get back to the funny clips in just a second, but first I have a question for you. Did you or someone you love get vaccinated? And if so, are you nervous about the many health implications that are now being documented? Well, you're not alone. Spike protein causes a whole host of long-term health issues that we're seeing happen in real time. But fortunately, help is here because Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. Drew Pinsky, and the chief medical board at the Wellness Company have found a solution. Spike.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here because he's actually going into a commercial. And move on. If you want to watch more of it, again, the link is in the description box below. But moving on here, this video does come from Awaken with JP. This is how you deal with protesters. And I just thought I'd throw that in to kind of lighten up the video here on Sunday evening when we close it out. Following his channel, giving him a thumbs up. Let's just check here in his description box if he has a link for the Wellness Company. I don't see that. Oh yeah, there it is, the Wellness Company. Get your spike protein support. Now, I've had a lot of videos that I've shared from Dr. Peter McCullough and Dr. Pierre Corey. And if you look down further in my description box here, Pierre Corey, Peter McCullough, My Free Doctors, these are direct links. Let me get back here to Awaken with JP. Now, I want to show you something kind of interesting here. If it comes up, pause it, go over here to the Rumble. Now, when you look at his video, or his link, in his description box, this is right here. JP Reacts. This is the Wellness Health JP Reacts. Now, my link is directly there to the Wellness.health. Same thing with Pierre Corey, and same thing with My Free Doctor. I don't have it like a /Murtec on there or / Daily News Update or whatever, because these are direct links, and I'm doing it not to make money. I'm doing it for the benefit of the people who watch my videos. That's what this is all about. I'm not doing this to make money. There are a lot of people out there that do and give good information. That's not a problem if they can make money on this. But my motivation is to get the truth out to you and hopefully to others that you know, if you would share this information out. Right here's a share button. Let me go ahead and let me close these out here. I like to, being anal as I am, I like to keep things kind of cleaned up. Let me just do a quick refresh here. Okay, Rumble seems to be running a tad slow tonight. Uncloudy, happy Mother's Day. Okay, very good, Uncloudy. Let me copy this in here to a comment, because these live chats will evaporate once the live stream is over. And let Uncloudy give a happy Mother's Day to anyone else who wants to watch this video. But at any rate, okay, it looks like I've had like 385 people watch it. I've got 79 people watching right now, and I've got 11 thumbs up. So if 68 people could just slide down here and give me a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't hit the follow button, please follow me. It's green. If you're not following me, if you click it, it turns white. Okay, and also if you could click the share button. And I'm going to share this on Twitter right now. X. Right there, X. It's gonna, if you have a Twitter account or True Social account, it'll take you right to your account and just click the post button, and there it is. All right, let me give myself a heart because I like what I do. Okay, so, and you can share it out on Truth Social. You can share it out via email, WhatsApp, Facebook, or you can just click this and copy it and paste it into any social media platform that you want. I think we need to get the word out. Like Ed Dowd said, we need to find like-minded people that we can communicate with, that when the crap hits the fan, we can be in touch with people that think the same way we do, that we're in a world of shit and we're not going to be able to get out of it alone. We need support, other support. So please share this out with your friends, contacts, and family members so they too can know the taste of truth. And Mertech.com is your one-stop shop for no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth. This is a free site. I don't ask for your name. I don't ask for your email address. I don't ask you to sign up for a membership or a newsletter. I don't even have any ads on here. No ads popping up in your face. No ads restricting your information. It's your antidote to the lies and propaganda from the mainstream media. I do want to thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again tomorrow. I'll be here. I hope you join me. And may God bless.